State government suspends 27 secondary school students over alleged misconduct. And on the foreign scene, Sudan court sentences RSF leader Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo to death for war crimes against humanity.
And still on the news tonight, Nigerians' oil output hits 74-month high, beats OPEC quota. I'll bring you details of this and more on the business segment of the news. I am Okweyemi Adeomi. Don't go away.
And on sports news tonight, Manchester United completes the signing of Chelsea forward Andre Santos for £48 million. Join me in the sports segment of the news for the details of these stories and many more updates. I am Shiriyaro Tongawe.
We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. And this is to remind you that you can watch us live on Facebook at OGTV and OGTV Television, YouTube at OGTV Abeokuta, and on OGTV website www.ogtv.com.ng/live. And for the latest news and report, you can check us on these platforms: X at OGTV, Instagram at OGTV Television, or download OGTV app on Apple Store and Google Play Store. And now to the details of the news. President Bola Tinubu has directed the National Identity Management Commission to enroll every Nigerian in the National Identity Database before the end of 2026. The Commission's Director General and Chief Executive Officer, Abisoye Koka Odushote, stated this in Abuja. Koka Odushote said,
"There is a proposal to move away from the traditional 6-3-3-4 structure, replacing the administrative separation between junior and senior secondary schools with an uninterrupted 12-year basic education model. The Ministry of Education argues that the current discontinuity is a major driver of the nation's dropout crisis, with data suggesting that millions of students disappear from the system during the transition from GSS to SS.
On the 6-3-3-4 system, I believe is the best as far as I'm concerned. And if it is being phased out now, it sounds a little bit backward from my own perspective of looking at it. So, but if the one being introduced is more important or relevant than the 6-3-3-4, there's nothing wrong. But I will emphasize that it is about implementation.
If we scrap the GSS3, then that means that the technical harm or the vocational harm will suffer a lot. So that area too needs a very comprehensive consideration before we can say we want to actually scrap, because the backbone of every society is in people becoming reliable.
In addition to structural changes, the government is placing a heavy emphasis on human capital development through the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NELFund. The government is actively expanding financial access to tertiary education, with plans to reach 7 million beneficiaries. The broad policy agenda also prioritizes the integration of technical and vocational education and training, TVET, into the curriculum, ensuring that graduates are equipped with marketable skills regardless of their academic path.
If you want all look at all those policies, what matters most to us now is to make sure our students, those ones we are educating, we give them something that will make them self-employed after education, so that not everybody will be running after white-collar job.
However, stakeholders are arguing caution. While the policies are described as progressive, experts maintain that the structural shift alone is not a magic bullet. Without proper counterpart funding from states, sustained investment in school infrastructure, and an aggressive retraining program for teachers, these reforms risk repeating the shortcomings of previous education policies.
And it's not even the education sector alone. We are working on macro and microeconomics. When some of these dislocations happen at the top, at the level of policy making, at that fiscal or the economic level, it has a way of dovetailing to every sector. So the education sector is not exempted from it too. Just other sectors are equally affected one way or the other.
Because the government has more responsibility in terms of funding and giving them proper attention and the needed tools and skills that is required. You know, most of these teachers, most of the people in the education sector needs to be trained and retrained.
The first thing is that whatever policy we are going to implement, we must do that evaluation. After 5 years, we need to ask ourselves, have we been able to achieve the objective?
As the government pushes forward, the message from the public is one of prudent optimism. Nigerians are calling for a more proactive approach to oversight. They argue that for these reforms to position Nigeria favorably in the global digital economy, the federal government must move beyond policy design and focus intensely on transparent implementation and results-driven monitoring. The goal is clear: to give every Nigerian child a fair chance at success. The success of these policies will be measured not by the quality of the documents produced in Abuja, but by the improvement in learning outcomes in classrooms across the nation. Elizabeth Esson, OGTV News.
The Ondo State government has suspended 27 students from 3 public secondary schools in Akure over alleged misconduct. This is contained in a statement by Mrs. Bisi Lawani, head of the media unit, Ministry of Education, Science and Technology. The affected students are from Oyemekon Grammar School, Aquinas College, and CAC Grammar School. The statement explained that the students were suspended for gross misconduct and unruly behavior.
In the last 2 years, the collapse of the naira and soaring import fees turned basic healthcare into a luxury. Many patients were forced to choose between completing their doses or paying for food, leading to a dangerous rise in self-medication. Now, the trend is reversing. A survey of pharmacies in Abeokuta confirms that the prices of key medications, especially for chronic illnesses and common infections, are actively trending downward following recent federal government policies to subsidize raw material imports.
There is, but it's not that significant. There are a lot of factors that can mitigate against seeing the rapid change in price. And part of the factor is an APIs, which is the active pharmaceutical ingredient, the active ingredient in all these molecules that you are looking at. They are not readily available in Nigeria. We source for over 80% of those molecules outside Nigeria. Like I said, if you can leverage on good stability in the exchange rate, and if government can come up with loans for pharma companies, loans that are of single interest, I think it will be a good way at which people can feel the reduction in tariff that government earlier announced.
The relief is tangible for many families, but patients are quick to note the limitations. While prices have moved, they remain steep compared to current income levels for the average household. The cost of healthcare is still a heavy burden that requires more than just a marginal price adjustment.
To buy drug now is very exorbitant, unless if you go to a big supermarket, you can get someone less. Because likewise, my wife is using one tablet. A sachet of one tablet is 6,000 naira. And if she did not use it, it will cause him a problem.
And on the rates they buy the market. You know, there are different companies, they are buying the market. All the companies, they are not the same. That is, the products are not the same.
The expert verdict is unanimous. We cannot rely on import relief alone. Pharmacists and healthcare leaders argue that Nigeria's true vulnerability lies in its dependence on imported pharmaceutical raw materials. To protect citizens from future price shocks, the focus must shift to incentivizing local manufacturing firms to produce essential medicine within our borders.
Some of the suppliers are still finding it very difficult to regulate their prices at that level. When we saw this particular challenge, even with that, it was still affecting our prices because patients kept coming now. They are no longer going outside to purchase their medicine because it's affordable now. The turnover had made the account stable, and we're able to purchase and pay our suppliers.
As the market stabilizes, the public is reminded to exercise caution. Experts are urging patients to avoid the temptation of buying medications from unlicensed vendors, as the market adjustment period often creates opportunities for substandard and counterfeit products to circulate. The goal for the nation is clear. Healthcare must be determined by medical necessity, not by the size of a patient's pocket. As this policy takes root, the public is watching to see if this decline is a temporary fluctuation or the beginning of a sustainable healthcare recovery. Olaide Oloye Sholuade, OGTV News.
And still on health, the federal government has launched the National Guidelines for Public Procurement of Food and Related Services as part of effort to improve nutrition, promote healthier diet, and reduce the growing burden of diet-related diseases through a new food procurement policy for public institutions. Speaking at the official launch of the guidelines in Abuja, the Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Isiaq Adekunle Salako, said government procurement should no longer be seen merely as an administrative process, but a strategic policy instrument for improving public health, strengthening human capital, and advancing sustainable national development. Salako described the launch as a major governance milestone, noting that every public procurement decision reflects a national priority. He explained that the guidelines were developed in line with the Public Procurement Act 2007 and the Constitution. Glad to have you on the second segment of the news. A new healthcare facility, Deering's Oasis Health Center, featuring a recovery suite, emergency wing, and nursing station, has been dedicated alongside a free medical outreach in honor of the late Adebola Aderinsola Ajayi and to celebrate the remarkable recovery of her sister, Adebisi Ajayi Adeloye. The facility is dedicated by the Secretary to the Ogun State Government, Tokunbo Talabi, who describes the project and medical outreach as a fitting way to honor the memory of a loved one while giving back to society. Marcio Shome reports.
A registered nurse, Adebola Aderinsola Ajayi, is remembered as a compassionate caregiver whose promising career is cut short by a tragic motor accident, turning what should have been a season of celebration for her sister's wedding into a period of profound grief rather than allowing the tragedy to define them. Her family, friends, and associates chose to transform their pain into a lasting legacy. They have established Deering's Oasis Health Center, a facility dedicated by the Secretary to the Ogun State Government, Tokunbo Talabi, followed by a free medical outreach to serve the community.
The part of the immortalizing process is what we see today. And I've gone through the process. It addresses specific requirements in the society where people can come and recuperate from injuries. And when they also need medical advice, this is a time that has matured, that has come.
The facility's first floor houses the Adebisi Ajayi Adeloye recovery suite, celebrating her miraculous recovery, while the emergency wing and nursing station are named in honor of the late Adebola Aderinsola Ajayi.
He's always talking about it. So that was the reason why I guess she chose nursing as a profession. And the only thing we can do is to continue to remember her and to do what she loved most. And that is why we put this on. And this is also to encourage the sister, you know.
Addressing the gathering, the Secretary to the Ogun State Government, Tokunbo Talabi, commends the family for preserving the memory of the late nurse through a project that will continue to save lives. Other dignitaries pray for God's comfort for the family and applaud them for turning their loss into a legacy of hope and healing.
Every life that is saved puts a smile on her face.
This is a show of love, and I really appreciate the kind of remembrance.
Almighty God will continue to bless them for reaching out to the community.
Earlier, delivering the welcome address on behalf of the family, Honorable Abib Ajayi says the occasion marks the birth of a sanctuary of healing, resilience, and enduring love.
Every hand held will be an extension of Adebola's enduring light and care. We believe the best way to honor a nurse's memory and survival life is through service.
Hundreds of elderly residents and other vulnerable members of the community benefit from the free medical outreach and express appreciation to the Ajayi family for extending quality healthcare to those in need. Matthew Shomi, OGTV News.
May our soul continually rest on. Nigerians have frowned at the proliferation of bleaching creams and the increasing number of its users in spite of the health hazards which come with it. A cross-section of Nigerians who spoke with the OGTV News in Abeokuta canvasses for adequate enlightenment and legislation to control the bleaching in the country. Fowora Adesonwo reports.
Bleaching has become a phenomenon, but a few people are really talking about it.
I don't see any reason why somebody should change his or her skin just because he or she feels that fair complexion will make you more beautiful or make you more attractive. It's not true.
I actually encourage individuals to first of all come to that acceptance mentality that this is who I am, this is me, this is my color. You have to be through the adequate diet intake that our body will get the essential nutrients that it needs that will help the skin to maintain its color and all that, such as the vitamin A, the vitamin E, and the vitamin C.
Respondents believe the society is so quiet on the danger of bleaching, which deserve a political will. A stitch in time, they say, saves 9. Ade Fowora Adesonwo, OGTV News.
The House of Representatives has intensified efforts to tackle illegal mining, insecurity and illicit financial flows on Nigeria's extractive sector, warning that unchecked exploitation of mineral resources is depriving the country of huge revenues and threatening national security. Chairman of the House Ad Hoc Committee on Mineral Exploitation, Security and Anti-Money Laundering, Rep. Sonny Egediba, gave the warning at a high-level stakeholders workshop on extractive industry governance in Abuja. He said Nigeria's rich deposit of gold, lithium, tin, coal, tantalite, and other minerals had not translated into sustainable economic development due to illegal mining, weak enforcement, and money laundering. Abdurrahim said the committee was constituted to investigate the scale of illegal mining exploitation, trace illicit financial flows linked to the sector, assess security challenges in mining communities, and recommend legislative and administrative reforms. The lawmaker disclosed that the committee had commenced engagement with relevant agencies and would compel cooperation where necessary. It said the committee had held meetings with stakeholders and issued summons where cooperation was inadequate, stressing that effective oversight required accurate information. Abdurrahim said illegal mining was a complex challenge that required collaboration among regulators, security agencies, financial intelligence institutions, state government, traditional rulers, licensed operators, and civil society groups. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has granted a critical extension for the political parties to submit their list of candidates for the 2027 general elections, while the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, have already complied. Other parties remain locked in internal dispute. Taiwo Fabajo reports on the pressure facing both the Commission and the political parties as the new deadline arrives. His report.
A credible nomination process is the bedrock of a credible election. In an effort to protect this foundation, INEC has adjusted its timetable, allowing parties an additional window to upload candidate particulars for presidential, Senate, and House of Representatives seats. The Commission explains that the extension is necessary to accommodate technical bottlenecks, such as access code delays, and to allow parties to finalize critical post-primary reconciliation. The move has received mixed reactions. Many stakeholders applaud the Commission's commitment to inclusiveness, viewing the extension as a pragmatic step to ensure that no party is disenfranchised due to administrative hurdles.
I think all political parties will take advantage of this extension. Why? Because not all political parties are created equally. Political parties, unfortunately, have to struggle to generate their funds, their people, and even to generate candidates. So the extension that has been given gives, of course, a lot of room for more political parties to be able to deepen democracy in Nigeria.
It's a welcome idea for them to extend, because I know some of the political parties might not have perfected some of their documentations. So this will give them the ample opportunity to ensure they do the right thing.
It's a welcome development. It shows that the general election in 2027 is going to be competitive, it's going to be all-inclusive.
However, with less than 24 hours remaining on this final extension, the mood among these political observers is tense. They argue that a 48-hour window is insufficient to navigate ongoing litigations, verify documents, and ensure full compliance with INEC's portal requirements. They maintain that the complexities of modern party politics require a longer time frame to guarantee accuracy.
In as much as I would have loved for as much time as possible for all political parties to be able to field their candidates fully, I cannot wish for indefinite time.
If more than 48 hours is not enough, then we can also see how we can, put in one or two extensions just for more political parties to come into the web, and for candidates who are also having some sort of litigation there and there.
Barring the electoral body from acknowledging the outcome of congresses held by the MAC-led leadership of the ADC, the head of appellate court panel, Justice Abba Mohammed, gave a dissenting judgment. In his majority decision, Justice Mohammed held that the case that repatriated the restraining order bordered on a non-justificable internal affair of a political party. Business news is next with Okpeyemi Adewumi to stay with us.
Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's crude oil production has climbed to its highest level in more than 6 years, with the country exceeding its Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries production quota for the 4th consecutive month, buoyed by improved operational stability and fewer disruption to oil infrastructure. Latest figures released in Abuja by the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission show that the country average crude oil production rose to 1.56 million barrels per day in June 2026, while condensate output stood at 0.18 million barrels per day, bringing total crude oil and condensate production to over 1.7 million barrels per day. The production level represents 104% of Nigerians' 1.5 million barrels per day crude oil production quota, approved by OPEC, and marks the country's highest crude oil output since April 2020, making it a 74-month high. The figures contained in the Commission's latest production report and conveyed in the statement issued by its head of media and corporate communication, Eniola Akikotu, show that June also marks the 4th consecutive month of production growth, reinforcing the recovery of Nigerian upstream oil sector after years of production losses caused by crude theft, pipeline vandalism, and operational disruption. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Bayo Ojulari, has reaffirmed the company's commitment to repositioning itself beyond oil and gas production, saying it has evolved into a platform that connects investments, technology, policy, and talents to drive sustainable energy development in Nigeria and across Africa. Ojulari stated this in a statement on Monday while reflecting on NNPCL's participation at the 2026 Nigerian Oil and Gas Energy Week, where the company showcased a strategy for strengthening partnerships and advancing the continent's energy sector. Energy Week is now the that the federal government allotted 5.8 trillion worth of bonds between January and June, compared with 2.86 trillion naira allotted during the same period in 2025, representing an increase of 2.22 trillion naira. The figures include both competitive and non-competitive allotments disclosed in the auction results. The government also significantly increased the amount of bonds offered to investors during the review period between January and June 2026. It offered 4.95 trillion in bonds compared to 1.85 trillion naira in the corresponding period of 2025. This represents an increase of 3.10 trillion naira or 167.6%, reflecting a more aggressive domestic borrowing program. Fixed income investors in Nigeria have been advised to brace themselves for a prolonged period of high interest rates, as financial experts project that any meaningful reversal in Nigerian federal government bond yield is highly unlikely before the final quarter of 2026. According to the latest macroeconomic insights, the domestic debt markets will remain heavily skewed towards elevated yields due to a combination of rigid macroeconomic pressure, strict regulatory adjustments, and ongoing volatility in both the domestic and global inflation landscape. For institutional fund managers and retail investors alike, the high-yield environment presents a double-edged sword, highly attractive nominal returns on short-term instruments juxtaposed against severe inflationary erosion that continues to challenge positive real yields. Activity in the Nigerian foreign exchange market slowed down significantly as total turnover across the spot and derivative market plummeted by nearly half. According to the latest weekly data released by FMDQ Exchange, the market recorded a total turnover of $1,631.12. This represents a sharp 46.57% contraction, amounting to a loss of over $1.4 million in liquidity compared to $3,053